There's a certain level of prejudice that exists in the teaching world when it comes to languages. Namely, that only mother tongue teachers are perceived as qualified, in inverted commas, to teach their native language, whereas those who have learnt the very same language they teach are considered less knowledgeable. But is there really any truth to this? I'm from London and I've been teaching English in Italy for just over 5 years. During that time, I have worked with a number of colleagues who teach English even though it is their second language. I have witnessed the way students specifically request mother tongue teachers and the silent struggle that those colleagues have to endure to prove their worth and capability, in spite of their qualifications and evident ability. Why then are mother tongue teachers placed on such a pedestal? And is it even right to do so? To unpack this dilemma, there are some key factors to consider when it comes to language learning. There's no denying it. You can never replace the authenticity of an accent when a language is spoken by a mother tongue. Of course, you can learn pronunciation, and I have heard Italians speak English with fantastic pronunciation. But the reality is, as much as you may study another language, you are never going to fully know all of the nuances and details that come naturally to a mother tongue speaker. Now, this doesn't mean that mother tongue speakers are somehow superior. There are plenty of Londoners, for example, who absolutely butcher their language with mispronunciation and slang. But of course, let's be real. It's challenging to nail the pronunciation of a language that isn't your own, and then go on to teach that to students. Whenever I speak in Italian, I sound just like the Londoner I am. I can't roll my R's, I forget how the alphabet is pronounced in Italian. I realise that I have come to speak my very own version of the language, Britalian. I will never sound the same as an authentic Italian speaker, and that's okay. There's a degree of elitism that seems to exist around pronunciation when it comes to learning a language. There are countless YouTube videos that will teach you how to sound just like a British person, or how to sound just like an American. But my question is why? Why would anyone want to do that? And what exactly are you trying to prove? Clear pronunciation is thought to be reflective of a more fluent, advanced grasp of a language, but it's not the be-all and end-all. The main objective with learning a language is the ability to effectively communicate, to understand and to be understood. In my opinion, that doesn't mean you need to lose your identity and become something you're not in order to be considered good at a language. If you're Italian and you speak English with an Italian accent, yet it's clear and understandable, why try to force an English accent that doesn't come naturally to you? It's likely to have the opposite effect. Of course, if your pronunciation is so bad that people struggle to make heads or tails of what you're saying, that's one thing. But if your objective with pronunciation is to create an illusion of fluency, verging on superiority, then that is another matter entirely. If a teacher can teach a language using the correct pronunciation, then I believe that this is all that ultimately matters. It's not a deal breaker if there's a hint of another accent. It's what makes that teacher them, and it's their identity. There is no need to try to hide it. I actually think it makes non-native teachers more relatable to students because the pronunciation problems their students encounter are likely to be the same ones that the teachers themselves may have faced, something which doesn't always come naturally to a mother tongue teacher. When you are paying a substantial sum of money to learn a language, there is a certain expectation placed on the quality of teaching and on whether teachers are mother tongue or not, That's just a fact. We tend to be more demanding of a service whenever money is exchanged. Here's my take on it. I completely understand this aspect and why students favour mother tongue teachers in this context. However, not every student will benefit from a mother tongue teacher, and here's why. If your language level is low to non-existent, it can feel very intimidating to have a mother tongue teacher. There's a certain comfort about having a teacher who speaks your language and has gone through the same struggles as you. This is also the same for students who are young learners. However, it's a careful balance. If you stay too long in your comfort zone, you don't grow. Some students benefit greatly from being paired with a mother tongue teacher because it pushes them to improve and to develop their knowledge of the language. It all depends on the student. As in life, when it comes to teaching, there isn't a one-size-fits-all approach. I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with qualifications. My late granddad would always tell me, "Clara, get all the qualifications you can under your belt." He encouraged me to be studious, which I was and still am to this day. I have seen through my life how education, whether academic or self-taught, leads to opportunities. However, as I've grown up, I have also seen how qualifications dwarf in importance compared to life experience and skills. Now, this is profession dependent, of course. In the world of teaching, though, qualifications are often bandied about as a way to evidence a teacher's ability and intelligence, and this is when I start to hate them. It is the moment when qualifications blur with a person's ego. For me personally, it is not the qualifications that make a teacher, it is the person. Of course, to have intelligence and knowledge about a subject is vital, but I don't believe that a degree is or should be the way to judge ability. There are many hugely successful business people in the world who didn't even have a formal education. There are also many highly qualified people in the world who will never achieve the same levels of success. The irony is that there are many mother tongue teachers with degrees completely unrelated to the language they teach, and yet they are still considered qualified, whereas the non-native teachers who have studied the language and obtained a certification, which is not an easy feat, believe me, are somehow considered less so. I have had many students over the years who have told me how their teachers at school belittled them, had no interest in what they were doing, and to put it bluntly, were terrible. Those teachers on paper are qualified to do their job, but in reality, they probably shouldn't. There are many skills and qualities that are required to be a good teacher: communication, empathy, humility, passion, organisation, creativity, leadership, kindness, and these are often acquired through what I call the University of Life. Life experience for me is what turns an average teacher into a great one. Teaching English in Italy is considered the easy option for finding work if you are a native speaker, because of the demand for mother tongue teachers here. However, not everyone can be a good teacher. Teaching is not for the paycheck, Lord no. But it is for the incredible influence you can have on another person. The ability to instill in your students the confidence to learn a language, to open their eyes to the opportunities in the world, and most importantly of all, for them to believe in themselves. Teaching is one of the most rewarding professions that I have ever worked in, and as I always say, I learn from my students in the same way they learn from me. So what then about this whole mother tongue debate? Should Italians teach English? Are mother tongue teachers better? It's very much a personal choice, but if you want my advice, don't immediately jump to conclusions that only a mother tongue teacher is best. There are plenty of other factors to consider, including your learning style and level of the language. Most importantly of all though, it's about the person behind the teacher, not where they're from. Passion and commitment to teaching are qualities that no amount of qualifications can provide. If you are lucky to find a teacher who embodies those qualities, make sure you hold on to them.